Last year, Spencer Langston of Langston's Alternative Power hired me to do a sign for him for his family homestead. So these are the boards that I started with, and I cut them up and ran them through the joiner and planer, and then I glued them up, mounted on the CNC router, and I used the router to plane it flat and give it a quick sand. Then I applied some Oramask 813 and carved out the sign. And I cut the perimeter out, and that's what it looks like after painting and removing the masking, and trimmed out and sanded it up a little bit just to touch up some snaggly edges. And here's the finished sign. And he thought, man, Seth, who has a channel Land to House, has driven a lot of sales my way, and I want to reward him, so let's get Joe to make him a sign. This is VCarve Desktop, which is sized appropriately for the machine that I have. After doing some testing, I determined that a 16 by 16 size shape would be about the right size for scaling what is going to be this bee carving, B for ball. I imported this high resolution picture I was able to find of his logo and scale it appropriately to the stock workpiece. And I'm allowing a little bit of space around the edges for the border. And now I go into vector tracing, or tracing of a bitmap here, to create vectors out of it. Vectors are lines that have no pixels, but they have directions. So the computer will draw a line from point to point, or Bezier curve. Bezier curve? I don't know what it's called. So I used that bitmap trace to get just the edges, and now I have to go in and clean up the image a little bit, or a lot in this case. Some images come straight in and I have to do a minimal amount of cleanup, but these ones are not quite so simple. Now I went into VCarve and I selected basic. I think this is a 60-degree V-bit, just to see what it looks like and show you guys what a normal V carving will appear as. And it doesn't quite reflect the shape of his logo. We can imply a little bit of design in our design here, I guess you could say, to make it more closely resemble what his logo actually looks like, because it looks like balloons or bubbles instead of these really sharp cutouts that are V shapes. So I'm going to have to go through and show that. And this is after I changed it to a ball nose carving bit. I'm going to change the color to just the material color so we can see the profile of it better. And you see how as it gets wider, it cuts deeper. That's how bee carving works. So what we're going to do here is fudge the design so that it doesn't do that. Now, one thing we also notice here is that the window and the door, they don't quite have a very defined cutout. And we'll have to address that too with a smaller diameter ball nose bit. And here I go in and I add the lines that are missing to create the correct profile. And we preview it. And there, we get the appropriate design style that matches his logo, at least in that one little portion. So now I have to go around and do it to the rest of the design, and it should come out looking a lot better. Many times when text comes in through a trace bitmap, it doesn't quite come out looking very good. So it's best to replace the text with something that you know is perfect. And in this case, I noticed that Franklin Gothic Heavy, in this case, matched very closely to his existing font size. So I'm just sizing it appropriately to completely replace the stuff that came in with the bitmap. I guess also delete the old text behind it. Easiest way to do is to shift that to new layer. Then we can hide it, select the old text, and delete it. Just like that. There we go. Got it. Here we see the new text on top of the old text, and the old text clearly looks goofy. It didn't quite trace in properly. And here I am just adding the profile and making the lead-ins and lead-outs work so that it creates a smooth cut on the edges. I don't have a fancy wasteboard. This is the original wasteboard that came with it when I bought it last year. It may be the original wasteboard from when it was made in 2009, I don't know. But what I do is I just screw into either the workpiece or some wedges on the side of the workpiece just to hold it in place. But oftentimes that creates little puckers in the MDF. I just have to chisel them away so that there's no high spots. I had just surfaced this 2 days ago, so it should be pretty flat to begin with. There's only a few things from when I was cutting out these shapes here. And I like to blow with my leaf blower. This thing works great. Now, this is the workpiece that we're working with. I had previously prepared this, and it's just some maple boards that I glued up. I didn't really intend it to be book matched, but it looks like it's book matched here a little bit. So what I'm going to do is kind of line it up on the edge there so it's kind of close to perpendicular. What I need to do is I need to drill and screw it down in the four corners, and the design has room for the screws to hold it down. Now this is getting a black paint, so the letters will be cut out and painted black. And to do that, I lay down what's called a stencil or painting mask. In this case, this material is Oramask 813, which is pretty much the industry standard for this type of work. I'll just get rid of you there. Now on the computer I have a previous test run, so we're going to open, come on, wake up, open our new test cuts. Not test cuts, I guess there would be production cuts, huh? Is there a way to change the default here? Okay, I need to put the USB drive in. So here's all the files from VCarve. So it'd be nice, oh come on, and a way to stop it from loading that screen. Alright, so there's our media. Land to house, and then I already have the 1/2 inch in there, so let's just do the 1/2 inch first. So open that, clear the paint, and then so there's our file loaded up, and the center of the whole drawing is actually right here, so we have to get that first on our workpiece. Now this wood is kind of book matched, and it's offset to one side because the way I did it, there's just too much wood on this side, so I'm gonna favor this side when I do the center, and I know this is 16 wide, so if I go 8 1/4 over right there, that should give us enough room. And then from the short end here, a little more than 8 1/4, 8 3/8, and then just verify it's long enough on the other side, make sure that that's more than 8, and it is. This now is our approximate center. I'm going to home the machine to make sure everything is where it should be. Alright. So now we have to get it pretty close. So on the keyboard, if I hit the I, it goes to incremental, and then I can do little nudges. And Shift I goes back up to the more coarse incremental. So it's a lot faster. Alright, that looks really close. So this is 5/1000 increments. Nope. Yep, okay, that's touching it. Now I'm going to hit the touch off button, and where it is now is 5 thousandths approximately above the workpiece. Now let's make it 6. So that's 2 sheets of Oramask plus 1 sheet of paper, maybe 6 thousandths. It's a round bit, so it's not terribly critical anyways. Okay, I just did X and Y as well. So it's in X right now, so I hit the N key, that's 0, and now I hit the Y key, and the N key, and that's 0. So now it's 0 and 0, and now we're ready to cut. I'm going to turn this on, and maybe about 3 out of 6 is an okay speed for this. Okay, now we can move on to the larger diameter cutter. And the way I usually do this is I set them up like this and I can just squeeze. And that doesn't put any torque on anything except just the nut. So this is a 1/2 inch, and then this is a 1 inch diameter, that's the diameter, on a 1/4 inch shank. Round over bit. Link in the description. These are just cheapies from Amazon, they work fine. And I'm going to chuck this up pretty far because the reduced stick out on this will increase its stiffness a lot because there's a lot of spinning mass there. So now we move it over a little bit, and I'm going to re-zero this. Go to I. Nope. 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 Oh, a little bit. Let's go down. There. It's got a good drag on it. Now I'm going to zero the Z. And again, this is going to be 6 thousandths above the actual work surface. I'm going to turn this, raise this up a little bit. I'm going to open the correct program, which is our round carving with a 1 inch diameter. And now this cut's going to take a while. When I turn this on, it's going to be at a lower speed, and I might adjust the speed to make it sound better. I don't know. That's not really a technical way to do this. Yeah. Now I switch over to the 90-degree V-Vit, and that will do the lettering and the decorative edge. And I put the paper here because when this falls down it hits the work surface, but the paper protects it. Plus the paper should be here anyways, because I have to zero this. And having the paper there helps me remember to zero it. So if you don't zero it, then you're either going to cut nothing or you're going to scrap the part and crash the machine. Alright, so now we got to open the correct file here. This is going to be the VCarve 90. Got to make sure that where I'm trying to find 0 here is actually above the workpiece and not in one of the previous cuts. Alright, that's getting pretty close. 5/1000ths. Okay, that's touching. I'm going to call that, that's touching pretty good, so I'm going to call that like 4/1000ths above. Touch off that. 004. Okay. Good. Now we're going to run the V carving, which is going to do the letters and the decorative edge around the perimeter. Turn that guy on. Okay, everything is looking really good. Let's put on the profile cutter. There, we got it there. Now I'm going to set that also at 5/1000ths above the workpiece. And I'm going to make sure that my thickness is correct because I did not program that in the machine. 733. Alright, now I just have to do the perimeter cutout. You know, I've put in the correct thickness, and I added 2 tabs on the side so that it won't break free. I'm afraid that tabs along the bottom, the top, or this edge, there's gonna be no edge left, but I know there's gonna be an edge on this side, so I put tabs over here. Send it! Whoops! The router came unplugged. Yeah. Alright, the last freaking cut. Reset. I'm going to turn it back on and get the cutter head out of there. Now I need to rehome it. Okay, that's still in the right spot. I think it'll be fine, whatever happened there. But I'm going to shrink this perimeter by a little bit because I didn't realize when it does a last pass, it just plunges, it doesn't feed in. So there's a little bit of a booger there. And then the top edge here, there's a knot or nail hole or a screw hole that's up there. So I'm going to redo border in a little bit. And ta-da! It's cut. There's two little tabs over here, but I know it cut all the way through, so I can just lift it up like that. So those tabs just broke off right in the middle. I don't know if you guys can... There we go. See that? And then right here's where it crashed because the the router came unplugged. And right here there was a little bit of a booger. I think it was like a knot, I think. Or maybe a screw or a nail hole. And I have to sand up this edge because there's, you can see the ridges there. So I have to fix that. Overall, came out really well. I do have to fix the masking right there. It came loose. Oh, look at that. Just fixed it. And then one thing that I'm always concerned about is if it's going to chip out along like these inflection points, if you could call it that. I don't know. But in this case it seems to have not chipped out at all. Not there. A little bit right there. You can see a little bit right there. And of course this is fine because it was all just deeper. I think next time I would change the step over to be a little bit shallower because you can see the lines there and a little bit there. But I think once it gets painted you're not going to see those, and you can kind of see them here too, but it's not as pronounced. The text looks really good, so I'm happy about that. Now here we are over at our painting barrel. Now to paint the grooves, I don't want any overspray to get on the edges on this design. I don't know what happened there. But I'll just tape off the edges with some tape. Now I already clear coated it with this stuff, and I'm going to spray another light coat in everywhere that I'm going to paint, and that'll soak in anywhere where the black would bleed. So it's going to soak in clear, and then when I spray the black it's not going to bleed at all. Now I do have to be fairly fast about this because I've discovered that a lot of different paints will actually peel up this painting mask. I don't know why, but I've had that happen a few times on me. Okay. Let's see how that goes. I got a request from Spencer to put his name on the back of this. You can see I took the tape off because it was kind of in the way, and the border came with it. But I'm going to leave the Oramask on right now. It's also a little bit sticky. And that'll prevent the surface from getting scratched up while I have it upside down on the CNC router. Now I don't have the 0 saved in here anymore, but I can at least line it up with the existing lines to make sure that it's square. And that looks pretty square there. I'm going to put a little bit of tape down in the middle so I can mark the center. 40 thousandths under 16 inches, because I took 20 off of each side, remember. But we're just going off a pencil mark, so I'm going to go right here at 8 and favor that side a little bit, and then this one is also going to be 8 and favoring that side. There's a little bit of dust in there from my last job. I always like to clean out the chuck. So that's centered, and I'll show you guys the way that I prefer to hold things down. I've used these a whole bunch in the past few weeks to hold down pretty much everything. And yes, I do go right into my spoil board. Not going anywhere. Kind of stuck to the bottom. Okay. There, we got a keyhole and some text engraved. Now, this bowed a little bit, so this isn't like a perfectly even engraving. Notice the L is really faint, and in the middle it's a lot deeper. This is bowed up a little bit. Okay, I guess we could finish peeling off this stuff and make it look all pretty, right? Ta-da! Now I am going to give it a quick sanding after it completely cures, because there's a little bit of bleed, like right there. There's a little bit, and then right there, because that's where my knife touched it, and then there's another one right there. Again, because of the knife, it's just not perfect. A little bit there on the edge too. Got a little bit of bleed through and a little bit of pullback on this Oramask. If anybody knows the best paint to use that's not going to peel this back, let me know. And here's the final product. I did unfortunately have a problem where I put the black paint in and then I spray the clear over from the same manufacturer, same like style of can after it's fully cured, and it crackled like this. So I don't know what I could have done differently with those products to prevent this. I mean, the black had cured for 48 hours with heat, so it was completely cure. And spraying the clear on top of it made it wrinkle up. Made the clear wrinkle up, I presume. I presume the black stuff underneath was still stable. Both of the materials were this Krylon Color Max. I'm going to try some black lacquer and clear lacquer next time. I also have some shellac to try. So future signs will have potentially a different paint brand and paint type. And now it's time to ship out. For this, and commonly for other things about this size that I ship out, I have a few different things that I ship that are this size. The first one being concrete molds. So I also sell these. They're on my eBay store. PSBENGR is the name of my store. PSBENGR, one word, lowercase. So I sell these, and for that I got a bunch of these boxes. They're 20 by 20 by 6 here, and what I do is, even for these ones, because it's a lot cheaper if you cut the box down to a smaller size, is I have this piece of knot scrap here that I place in there, and then I run a utility knife with the blade retracted along here to crease it, and I use that as a guide to cut the corners loose. And then while it's up, I also just give it a little bend up like that to enforce the bend. So this factory bend never even really gets bent. And then when I get it like this, I will actually fold these down, overlapping, cut it, and then remove the extra pieces. So that's what these are. So now it's a perfectly sized box that I can wrap this up and put it in there. So it's a good size. To wrap this up, I have cut off a section of polyethylene, or HDPE, or whatever it is. I guess HDPE is polyethylene. Yep. But this is meant as, come on. to protect hallways as you're working in them. So it's 3 feet wide, so you don't have to do a lot of ridiculous cutting. So I'll put this in here and then just wrap it up. This is a lot cheaper than getting bags that are individually the perfect size. And for additional protection, bubble wrap. On the ends, if I fold it over, then it gets a little bit too thick. Kind of roll it up and tuck it on the edge. Almost good. It just needs some more around the perimeter. Another good idea, since I have the room, is to put these on the corners. And there we go. Just don't look at this side, okay? Look at that side, and that one's the better side. Yep. Good job. And in case you were curious about the weight, I'm gonna guess 4 3/4 pounds, or 4 pounds 12 ounces. Nope, I was way off. 6 pounds 4 ounces. So we'll round it up to 6.5 ounces. I'm filming this after a few months after I completed that. I'm just getting around to it. And he got the sign, he likes it, and hopefully at the same time this video comes out, he will have another video coming out with the sign in it, installed in his shop. So that's really cool. Some information about the stuff that I have used is this is a Probiotix Comet CNC router. It does 25 inches by 25 inches on the bed. I also have links in the description for all of the tool bits that I used. I used a 1/4 inch downcut bit. Also, I was using a Makita 701 router, not my new spindle here, just to let you know. And still having issues with masking, like I'm working on this sign here for a customer. I had my masking stick. I used a card scraper to scrape off parts of the adhesive residue that stuck, and then I had to repaint it. So now I have to go in and touch the colors where I repainted those areas where it stuck. So I'm still learning a lot of stuff, and it's taking a lot of time to do somewhat simple jobs like this. I suppose if you guys wanted to see what this looks like. There we go. So I do I said do I do custom orders. I also have an Etsy shop, again, link in the description, and I have a few other things for sale dealing with my CNC router. I'm trying to make it into kind of like a side hustle that maybe turns into a full-time business, ideally. We'll see. I have another glue up here for a Corvette sign. I have some clocks here for sale also on my Etsy store if you're interested. These are just some speculation ones. If I get a lot of interest and orders, I'll start making a lot more of these. And of course I can make them any size up to 24 inches, any shape, any text you want, any designs, any special font, special woods, colors, you know, any of that, I can do it. I've also upgraded the shop lighting in here, so I have a lot better lighting. And this brings us to the end of this video. Like, comment, subscribe. Goodbye.